I think there are two schemes that haven't significantly achieved the intended outcome, that haven't significantly achieved the intended outcome. One is Jamb, the other is NYC, National Youth Service Corps. The death of the 19-year-old girl attributed to mental health issues.
Unfortunately, we have reported one death of a 19-year-old from this incident. Yes. And Ngozi did highlight initially the psychological impact that this has caused. Yes. Beyond what we have seen today from Jamb and Professor Oloyede, who was tearful, there should be consequences for action. Don't you think so?
Yes, there are consequences. And I've told them they're beating up both the contractors, the directors in Jamb. There are a series of internal reviews going on. But the girl's death is really unfortunate and sad. And also goes back to the more fundamental issue of what our young people talk about all the time that we seem not to listen to, the issue of mental health. Scoring 190 in Jamb and committing suicide doesn't seem like a normal reaction to 190. So the girl must have been going through a lot. We need to pay attention to our young people. Even the process of the schools where they go, the access to facilities, which is why I said what Professor Oloyede showed by that empathy.
We don't pay attention to mental health issues. Like, it is not something important to us, not something we actually preoccupy ourselves with. Nigerians are actually dealing with a lot. That it is no more anything, you know? The first time I interfaced with schools outside Nigeria, not in Africa, I was a little bit taken aback what Nigerian students go through. You know, children doing their normal school activities, a child can fall, a child can experience one discomfort or the other. Immediately, you will see teachers, you will see housemasters rally around that child. And they're not just saying sorry. They are working on the child's mind. A lot of talking to, a lot of, you know, that's, sometimes you'll be wondering, is it just because of this fall? Is it just because of this course? Maybe in the process of a practical, maybe a cooking session, you know, the way children do activities in school and parents are invited. You'll be like, is it just because of these small cuts in the child's finger that everybody is on the child? Let that child not even sob. And it's not just a child. It also happens to adults. They also do it to adults. When you come to work or somewhere and they ask you, how are you? I'm fine is I'm fine. I'm not fine is I'm not fine. You know? Once your answer is not positive, everybody is looking towards you, and the aim is to get you in the right state of mind. Then I began to understand the impact of the successes you will have, the impact of mental well-being to the successes you would have. But because we deal with a lot in Africa, we deal with a lot in Nigeria, that somebody will feel that failing Jamb is not enough reasons for a child to take his own life. While it is not advisable for somebody to get to that point where you think of taking your own life, because it also shows, some people have also said that it is how much you hate yourself. But I don't think it's about self-hate. It's about, let me not continue this cycle. It has more to do with not facing the fears, not facing the discomfort. Like, let me end it. Enough, I've had enough. It is not advisable. There are solutions. If you're going through something that is impacting on your outcomes and you're feeling like, I can't do this anymore, I can't take it anymore, there is solution for you, a lot to be done. There are many people to talk to. You can talk to me also. I counsel. Now, mental health, very important. And because we don't pay attention to it, somebody feels Jamb is not good enough for a teenager of 19 years. Do you know what it feels for a 19 years who is in a 15, 16 years nowadays gain admission? Do you know the competition that happens amongst young people that are in that bracket of writing exam, gaining admission, furthering their lives? It's like their mates have left them. It's like this thing is not working. It's like when they haven't seen it all to feel that it can get better. As far as they are concerned, that phase of life is a phase where if you don't have a strong upbringing, support of family, you can feel that life is not fair to you. So a 19-year-old who probably have written, because these days the school passing out age, that is SSCE these days, is 15, 16. Some 14. In my own time, it was 17, 18, even 19, some 20. But now, our children are faster. Probably because of nutrition, proper nutrition, increase in knowledge, the jet age effect, computer age effect. Things are happening by the minute. Efficiency has increased. Let me put it that way. So when the issue of Jamb first started, and they are talking of school entry age, I was taken aback for these people who don't seem to realize that efficiency has increased. Those days, you can spend 4 hours cooking. These days, you can spend just 30 minutes on the same food. Why? There are more solutions. There are more better ways of doing what you did before. Proper nutrition also. Children are faster. In our own time, at 14, we were still bathing outside. We were not fully, we were not even developed. It could be one breast just beginning to come out without you even noticing what is happening to you. But these days, an 8-year-old, 9-year-old has 2 breasts fully developed. And you are saying they should not gain admission if they successfully passed the exams. I don't think our children should be limited. Anyway, let's go back to I know we have our fears as management of issues on campus, but the main thing is that these children are also measuring up with the level of increase in knowledge. And the child you think cannot handle situations probably can handle it better than you would have in your own time. These days we have conversations and we think that our children don't understand. They do understand, even much more than you. Sometimes when my children talk, I'm like, what? These days, children are able to sit in front of the television and muster things that we could not muster. Those days, when we watch television with our parents and we see adults even getting closer, there's an atmosphere of romance. We get fidgety, we get withdrawn. Sometimes we run out of the sitting room and hide because we feel there's something going on, that there's something going on that is not meant for us. But these days, the children will stay put. They will tell you, mommy, they are kissing. They will tell you, no, they shouldn't have done it like this. When you allow them be themselves, and you will see that they are not as dull, they are not as backwards as you think. So when they get on campus, they face issues. And with the connection of family, they can master those issues. That is exactly why we also say parents should have that connection with their children. Even when they gain admission at 15, 16, in school, you're with them. Thank God to telephones. Thank God to easier means of communications. That's by the way. Back to the Jamb situation. So, the competition that exists between young people is enough for someone who is 19 that may have taken the exam up to 3 times. And this happens. Only for us to come in the dying minute to discover that it's possible that child passed. If somebody had scored 180 in this Jamb, and maybe they're expected to have 240 and above, with the glitch they talked about, don't you think the person may have done better? I don't know the nature of the glitch because they have said it is upload and not maybe marking. Well, the point I'm making is that there will always be an incident that will now act as a trigger to the thought of taking one's life. So let's not make it look like it's going to be series and series of things before it happens. And as I'm talking about Western countries, when things like this happen, It will never be business as usual. Whatever cost it, there'll be a policy around it. And that's the country we're asking for. Two schemes that have caused more harm than the intended outcomes are NYSE and Jamb. Okay, Jamb. A child passes SSCE, Senior Secondary School Certificate Exams. It could be NECO, it could be WASC, West African School Certificate Exam, or NECO, National Examination Council of Nigeria. A child passes SSCE, which shows that that child is capable of continuing his education. Then you make it mandatory for the child to write, mind you, they do WASC, they do NECO. Because if you don't do both, it will be like if I'm missing out. So children source money, family source money to take NECO, take WASC, and pass. It is now to enter a tertiary institution, he's being restricted with one other exam that is called Jamb, Joint Matriculation Examination Board exam. So the child is now meant to repeat the same exam in form of CBT, computer-based test. The same exams that the child has written and passed, because the questions that are set in Jamb are the same thing with SSCE questions. And the child is meant to repeat this exam in form of CBT. It's of no use. It is just a way to minimize. If you ask me, it's just a way to manage the inadequacies of tertiary institutions for intake. The universities cannot take the influx, so they restrict you, they limit you with one kind of exam called Jamb. So they technically limit you. What other countries do is that the capacity of a child is already known from the school where that child was raised for years, 5 to 6 years. The school already knows the capacity, the pedagogical, cognitive capacity of that child. Your performance has been rated all this while through assessments. So the colleges where you attended will be the ones to make recommendations, though liaising with you and your family based on your performance too. They will be the ones to make recommendations to the schools you will go to. The schools are classified according to the country's needs. This is our blanket study of I'm doing science, I'm doing art, I'm doing commercial, without it panning out on our society. But in places where I'm talking about, they know the need of the country. Take, for instance, a place like China. That country know what they need, so they field students in those areas who will come back to work to achieve that purpose. But in Nigeria, we're just churning out students without any national goal. Now, the college where the child attended already have been assessing this child, and they make recommendations. They liaise with the parents of the child, with the child's consent also, and make recommendations. So what the new schools do, the institutions that are going to admit them do, is that they organize open days, where parents, the child, will visit to come and check out those schools, because they are the ones that are going to admit you. The exams you're going to write to be able to qualify to enter is done in the school. The last exam you're going to do, as you pass, they will be the one to recommend what's next or which other school that are possible for you. And you have many options. In the open day, you go and check it out with your parents and choose the one you want to go to. So they write, your now school will write to that school. Education is a continuum, and no learner should be bridled, hindered, limited, using any exam as tool. You know what these exams they are writing means? You are simply saying that a child is not qualified to continue learning. He is not qualified to gain admission. Is that not daft? What qualifies a learner is more learning. What qualifies you as a learner is continuous learning. Learning is not complete until there is a behavioral change in the aspects of learning. When I talk about behavioral change, people are going to think about character. That's not what I mean. It could be part of it. But what we mean is that when a body of language is packaged, there are expected outcomes, patterns that should become visible, activities someone should be able to perform by being exposed to that body of language. So when you are now able to perform those activities or show that character pattern or that behavioral pattern, they say you have learned. I'm going to give a very simple example. In every learning, there is an expected outcome, what is called learning objectives. What they want you to begin to exhibit when you are exposed to that learning. For instance, if you're teaching someone how to manipulate an automobile, forget grammar, I'm talking about learning to drive. If you're teaching someone to operate an automobile, learning to drive, at basic level, you are expecting the person to be able to move 3 component parts of a vehicle: the clutch, the throttle, and the brake. Until that person has been able to move a car using these 3 components at that level, until they're able to do it, you won't say learning has taken place. What do I mean? It is only when you see them able to move that car, manipulating these 3 components, that you will say that learning has taken place. There is a behavioral change, meaning that before now, this person is not able to move a car, not just moving a car, because there is a lot to moving a car, because I say that basic level. That's that body of knowledge you expect the person to know at that level. When the person is able to now manipulate the clutch, the throttle, and the brake, and you see that they have started moving the car and are able to control these 3 simultaneously to see that car moving, you will say that they have learned. Before now, they are not able to do that. But now when they're able to do it, there's a behavioral change. Does it stop there? No. You will not say because the person is unable to move a car, then you should not drive at all. That is what we're doing. By saying that if you don't write Jamb, you will not gain admission. If you don't write this exam, you cannot continue learning. Learning is a continuum. If they have passed SSCE, it simply means they are qualified and capable to continue the next level of learning. It's only for the schools to make recommendations with the help of parents and the learner himself. The institution to go next that will give you the exact discipline you now want to continue in. So in the example I'm giving now, the ability of that person to maneuver those 3 components is what we call behavioral change, which simply means he is now able to undertake the intended outcome. He's moving closer to the goal. Does it stop there? No. Learning now continues towards mastery, because learning is in blocks of knowledges. At this basic level, he can now move a car. But that's not enough. And nobody can say, because you now can move a car, stay at that level, because the person hasn't gained mastery. He will now move further in trying to understand the engines of the car, because it's not enough to move a car. You begin, which is another block of knowledge. You begin to now check how the oil affects your engine, how to know when there is an oil in the engine, the level of oil that can carry your engine, the type of oil you can use for whatever car, how to help yourself when something happens with that engine, and lots more. I don't want to bore us with that. Once you are done with that block of knowledge, doesn't end there still. You continue, you move to the tires, understanding the body of the car you are driving, mastery. Now you understand the wheels, the type of nuts for the wheels for different cars. It doesn't also stop there. There's another block of knowledge, which is the steering. In that single steering you are seeing, a lot is involved. You now start understanding or learning how to meander with the steering, how to navigate, how to negotiate, how to do a lot with that steering, how to reverse, how to move forward. It doesn't stop there. For you to not the type of driving we do in Nigeria, that once you can move a car straight, you enter the road, and that's why we are brushing people all over the place. It doesn't stop at just moving a car. When you think that that learner in the example I'm giving has mastered everything about the car. You move to the roads. That is where you begin to learn how to apply that car on the road. Mastery, road usage, speed levels, where to apply those speed limits, hinterlands, the geography of driving, main roads, expressways, connecting roads, service lanes, junctions, etc. You now also begin to learn another block of knowledge. Traffic rules. You know your traffic lights? You know the zebra crossing thing? Right of way? For pedestrian? For bicycle users? For any kind of user? For disabled? Road usage. You begin to understand that you don't drive at the same speed in every road. You begin to also understand that you don't just pump your horn anytime. When you drive in Lagos, you must go crazy. Pa, 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 everywhere. But if you drive outside Nigeria, before you pump that horn, you know that there are rules. You hardly hear people pumping horns abroad. Mastery. Having known user rights on the road, you move to another block of knowledge. Laws. The laws governing road usage, ownership of a car, accidents, insurance, and lots more. You move to taxation, taxes on owning a kind type of car, legal battles when things happen on the road, accidents, defaulting, so many. So you see that learning is a continuum. That's exactly why I used this example. So you see, you never can condemn someone to never driving because he doesn't know how to drive. The same way you never can condemn a student, a learner, from continuing his education simply because he hasn't passed an exam that is not done in the school he has gone through to pass him to the next level. You see, in Nigeria, we waste a lot of resources on frivolities. So invariably, you are saying that you should have known it before you know it. You should have known it before you know it. You should have been knowledgeable before you start learning, which is a very wrong idea in education. As a teacher, you are not expected to begin to ask learners questions on things you haven't taught them. It's against the rule. Like most people will enter class and say, tell me, they want to teach a topic. Maybe in biology, they say, what is chlorophyll? The child hasn't even been exposed to that body of knowledge. Except you have given them an assignment and say, read up. I'm going to teach this the next class. And then you come and you say, what do you understand? It should be, what can you say? What do you understand? Not when some teachers come and think that they know how to teach and they are forcing students to produce what they haven't been taught. So you see, as a country, we hide under Jamb to fail our children, to fail the people we should be continuously educating, people we should continuously train. We hide under Jamb to keep them for years at home. Hide under Jamb to make life miserable for most of these young people, to the extent that some of them now take their lives. We have an obligation to constantly educate. Every learner has a body of language suitable for him, including the one you call Olodo. They all can be science students, they all can be art students, they cannot all be commercial students, they cannot all be technical students. There are bodies of languages, bodies of education, of knowledge that learners, that everybody can be exposed to, that are suitable for every person existing on earth, including the disabled. So it was really bad to see that after spending millions to conduct exam, somebody comes to national television to say, I personally take responsibility. Now that you have personally taken responsibility, what should we do to you? Anyway, we decide to forgive you, because what we have seen in our country is that those in leadership, instead of owning it, that they haven't done well, they grandstand and gaslight the people. You know, when people criticize government or anybody, the essence of criticism is to sit up and not to attack or fight back. They come to do right of reply in what is affecting our lives. But what is commendable with Jamb is owning it. But I have an issue with that because it only came after people started digging to see the cause. Meaning that if nobody shouted, it would have flown like that. How many things have gone under when people never shouted? Owning it is commendable, but children have gone through a lot of stress. This whole scheme is waste of resources. We waste the time of our children who in their productive years sit at home writing exams. Finances are wasted both at country level and at individual level and family levels. Do you know the trauma of preparing for exam, the stress? We went through that and it was a torturous moment. The panic of failure that made people even go into exam malpractice. Fear of failing. We make budgets, national budgets upon things where those monies can be redirected in a country that is poor. We multiply things. Why would we have WASC, NECO, Jamb just at the same level? Those resources can be rechanneled. If Nigeria is going to get it better, some of these things have to be scrapped. In parastatals and ministries, we also duplicate roles. And this thing started because some people want to accommodate their friends, they create an office. There are many things Nigeria has to scrap. Like the NYSC scheme that I talked about. The NYSC scheme was bettered after the Nigerian Biafran War. In their 3 R's: reconciliation, reconstruction, reintegration or rehabilitation, whatever the R's are. Nigeria hasn't been honest to herself, been true to her people in that commitment to unite the country. Because of the Igbos, they started that scheme as a way of making us blend as a country, mix together, mix cultures to understand each other. The only success that scheme has recorded is intertribal marriages. There's nothing more. Because even the country that started that scheme is fighting it. How can you start schemes to unite, reconstruct the country, yet you discriminate against parts of the country? And set up our children on the roads to go and die, be kidnapped, die in accidents, traveling, waste, whooping 1 year in the name of doing the youth service. Such that if you don't even have the certificate, it becomes a problem. Is that not the reason one-time Minister of Finance was laid off? Did she obtain degrees showing that she's qualified for the job? Yes. Only that she was abroad and never physically was present in the NYSC scheme. How can we be fighting ourselves? As a country, if we're going to go far, time will fail me, because this video is already long, to say why these two schemes should be scrapped. It's wasting our time, wasting money, wasting lives, wasting hopes, and still defeating the purpose. There is a lot of distraction going on in the country, that if we begin to put our houses together, return power to the grassroots, restructure our country, remove a lot of power from the center, Nigeria will function, and every region will be happy for it. We will have more resources to take care of our people, rebuild our country, and get us focused. What do we now say to the people? If it is in same countries, compensations will be paid, because a lot have gone in. Beyond apology, more should be done. There are places where, if after this thing happens, there's going to be a national policy. There are places that after this kind of happening, there's going to be a national policy to make sure it never happens again. How many of these so-called glitches have Jamb experienced that were not discussed? Because we're in this era that everybody is pushing for knowledge and pushing to know how things went down. That is why this one was uncovered. How many of these ones, this kind of happenings, have not been uncovered? And the NYSC scheme I talked about, reuniting, reintegrating, rebuilding the country. It is also rumored that this Jamb thing is targeted towards the eastern part of Nigeria. And maybe because he was opened up, they're doing apology. I don't know whether that is true. But as a country, can we get serious? Who is the leader that's going to be thoughtful and articulate enough to rebuild Nigeria? Scrape off appendages of distractions to maximize our resources and begin to rebuild. If you get a meticulous leader in government in 2 years, in just 2 years, Nigeria will have a different history. It has all the potentials. We need to also pay attention to mental health. The torture we are receiving from government is enough. Sometimes I just try to log off Nigerian news but you can't because of the passion you have from one to the other. Even now, we're just waiting what will be the next news. The trauma Nigerians go through is enough. This Jamb is one of them. If you know what it takes students to prepare for exam, to even source money to pay for the exams, you won't toy with the one they have done. Moving forward, can Jamb make sure it doesn't happen again? That is if it will not be scrapped. Because for me, if it's me, forget about Jamb. It doesn't exist. In some places, there will be a mass promotion of students because of this incident. And just forget about redoing the exams. But most importantly, learning is a continuum. And no child of Nigeria should be limited, restricted because of knowledge that he should be acquiring.